You were sharing just now the requirements in Argentina, but if there's similar but more complex kinds of requirements in Brazil and in Mexico and throughout Europe and different countries, how would a company stay on top of that? It seemed like they'd have to have a whole department just trying to manage requirements globally.
It's tricky. It really is tricky because, and especially as I mentioned, so the requirements throughout Europe are less. Well, they're less strict in terms of what's the right way to say this? They're easier from a technical standpoint, but they're fuzzier from a. You don't really know what you have to do. The idea is in Europe, they say, okay, you have to be able to survive an audit. You have to be able to document and prove authenticity and integrity of the message. And okay, well, what does that mean? And you can still use paper, by the way. You don't have to do e-invoicing. You don't have to go digital. So what happens is you have this kind of cloudy mess, if I may say so, where some companies don't want to do e-invoicing. They just use paper. Other companies say, well, we want to do EDI, and there's a way to do e-invoicing in Europe that allows for that. Other companies are more cautious about it and say, well, we want to sign everything so that we can deal with guilty until proven innocent. We can prove everything, and so that means that you have this onboarding challenge when you deal with countries like Europe, because you have to persuade your customers, hey, e-invoicing is a good thing. Let's use it. Let's do it. It lowers costs. It makes our business processes more efficient. It cuts down on paper and all those things. Right. Whereas in Latin America, which is arguably the leader in e-invoicing today, Brazil, for example, does more e-invoicing in a year than the rest of Europe combined. You don't have that onboarding challenge. I mean, sure, the government makes you do the government's making you do go electronic, and that's a burden. But at least they tell you exactly what you have to do. You know exactly what's required in order to comply, and the fact that everybody does comply means that you have a baseline of standardization that you can key off of or bounce off of for business process efficiencies. You don't have to persuade your trading community to do e-invoicing because they're already doing e-invoicing because they have to. And so therefore you can realize these benefits. There are benefits of faster cash flow, less friction in data entry, and so on accordingly.
So, Jason, if I'm running a company in Argentina and I get notification that I need to be supporting some of these, and I call you at Crossgate.com, or I go to the website, I learn about it, and I call you, what should I expect to need to do myself to prepare for an implementation?
The first thing is your ERP system should be localized for fiscal compliance. And what I mean by that is you should have your taxes calculated correctly. So when you create your invoice, we don't change your invoice. We don't calculate your taxes. We just reflect that fiscal information, and we sign it, and we archive it, and we follow all the compliance rules that the government mandates. So you should be able to create an invoice with all the line items and all the taxes calculated properly. Your system should be localized for the data values themselves correctly. Beyond that, we would ask you some basic information like how many branch offices do you have in each country, or in Argentina, for example. How many invoices do you do per month? And that's about it. Then we could, then we would be able to work it through. We'd be able to work it through from there.
So how do we securely connect or integrate our ERP with your managed service?
So through our real-time connector, we have a component that's optimized for real-time e-invoicing, because these processes, they are mission critical, and they need to complete quickly. Even 30 seconds is a long time, and so we have what we call a real-time connector that connects to different back-end ERP systems securely, not only using the authentication libraries provided by the ERP platform, but also it's further secured through the use of digital certificates. You would get a digital certificate from the government much like you might get a passport or a driver's license from the government. And that digital certificate has two keys, a private key that only you would know and no one else would have, not even Crossgate, and then a public key that you could share with everyone to validate the message and ensure that it came from whence you thought and that it hasn't been changed from when it was first created. And so we would typically secure the connection between the back-end ERP system and our real-time connector through the use of those authentication protocols, like SAP, TRFC, and so on. But it's also further secured through the use of these digital signatures. So you have a highly secure connection between your back-end ERP, between SAP, and between the Crossgate Managed Services Network. It allows you, here's a key point, it allows you to retain control of your digital certificate, keep that within your system infrastructure, while at the same time, allowing, so you can have your big cake and eat it too. You can have the all control over the certificate. You can secure it with your password. It can be stored within your system infrastructure. But at the same time, you can benefit from the network and the ability to integrate with the government and manage the archiving in the cloud.
Wow. That's a lot of work that I don't want to ever have to do myself, Jason. So, Jason, how many countries do you guys support now with e-invoicing?
Broadly speaking, I should know this off the top of my head. It's about 38 countries. It sort of changes every day, so it might be a little higher than that now. But yeah, we support about 38 countries worldwide, and as I mentioned, there's sort of regional solutions. We have regional capabilities baked into our network, so that, for example, we can handle the onboarding that you need to do, and the more portal-centric solutions that you might use for markets like Europe that require this plethora of different processes. You have to kind of make everybody happy, because since the government doesn't really tell you what to do, you got to make everybody happy. So we support that, and as well as the more complex but specific processes that you need for Latin America.
Well, Jason, I want to thank you so much for sharing your insights with the audience today. And how can people, if they are wanting to be compliant with these e-invoicing requirements, where's the best place for them to look for information? Is that at crossgate.com?
Yes. If you go to crossgate.com and go under resources, you'll see a lot of white papers and webinars and information along those lines. And of course, you could also contact me at jason.jones@crossgate.com.
Thank you very much, Jason.
Thank you, Kevin.